here we go. And George's dad writes on the note downstairs, what time? And George is sort of mortified. And then when he goes back down later, there's a note that says 2 o'clock, question mark. So then George feels kind of duty-bound to show up for whatever sad, lonely person is going to be waiting in the basement. And it turns out that this person is a boy named Safer, who lives upstairs, and who was the boy with the dogs in the lobby. Safer tells him that there is a man in the building who he calls Mr. X, who's up to something very sinister. And he sort of begins to draw George into a surveillance operation where they're spying using the intercom camera, and they're sticking gum wrappers in Mr. X's door in order to determine when he comes and goes, like, you know, in old movies where they put a hair on the doorknob, and then if it's down, it means someone's come by. So they've determined with the gum wrapper method that Mr. X is out, and Safer is going to try to get into the apartment by opening the slam lock with an expired credit card that he has. And George's role is going to be to sit in his apartment and look at that intercom camera so that he can look in the lobby and see whether anyone who fits Mr. X's description, which is just a man who doesn't talk, who only wears black clothes, comes in. And if he sees such a person, he's supposed to bang on the pipe in his apartment, and upstairs, Safer will hear the banging and run out. So this chapter is called Break and Enter number 1. I think I'll leave my shoes here, Safer says. Do you mind? I don't want to track anything in, and I don't want to leave them by Mr. X's door. If I have to leave in a hurry, I might forget them. And then he'd find them, and he'd start looking for a boy about my size. And it's fine, I say, leave them. He unties his sneakers and steps out of them. Okay, so it's three quick, 3 slow, 3 quick, I say. Got it. If I'm not back in 10 minutes, it means something is very wrong, Safer says. What am I supposed to do then? Call the police, I guess. Are you serious? What if you wipe out on your socks in the bathroom floor up there, hit your head on the bathtub, and pass out? Then I call the police, and we have to explain what you're doing up there in the first place. We could both go to jail. He stares at me. Then he bends down, takes off his socks, and tosses them on top of his sneakers. If I'm not back in 10 minutes, call the police, because it means I have not slipped in the bathroom in my socks, and I am most likely in the vice-like grip of a raving lunatic. Okay? I nod. Then he shakes my hand very formally and walks out the door. Oh, there's one other thing you need to know, which is that there's a little kid in the building who loves the interrupting cow knock-knock joke. Do we know this joke? Yes, right? So he's just this little kid with a babysitter who George kind of watches. I rush over to the lobby cam and push the button. The lobby door flickers into view on the screen. I grip my butter knife. I have this pins and needles feeling in my legs, like it's me who's forcing open the door of a stranger's apartment, walking in, looking, touching. It's the same feeling I get when Dad and I fly kites at the Cape, as if holding onto the string means that part of me is up there, way too high. I watch the clock. Every 2 minutes, the screen turns itself off, and I push the button to make the picture come back. Absolutely nothing happens for 6 minutes, except that I have pushed the view button 3 times. The pins and needles feeling is gone, and I wish I had brought a chair to sit on. Then finally, there's some action. The moo cow kid comes into the lobby with his teenage babysitter, who's wearing a pair of headphones and fumbling in her backpack, for her keys, I'm guessing. The moo cow kid isn't spinning around or anything. He actually looks a little sad. I push the talk button on the intercom and say, knock, knock. The babysitter ignores me. Probably she can't even hear anything with those headphones on, but the moo cow kid's mouth falls open. He's looking all around. Who's there? He asks the ceiling. Interrupting kangaroo, I say. He breaks into this huge smile. Interrupting kangaroo, 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 I shout, because I have no idea what sound a kangaroo actually makes. The moo cow kid is cracking up. His babysitter's found her keys, and they walk through the door. Then the lobby is empty again. Having fun, I whirl around, and there's Safer, leaning against the wall behind me with his arms crossed. It's a relief to know that you were worried about me, he says. I mean, I could be bleeding to death from a head wound in Mr. X's bathroom, and here you are, playing with the intercom. I glance at the clock. It's only been 7 minutes. You took off your socks. And you have been here telling knock-knock jokes to the whole building. Safer, do you really think that anyone who isn't us is standing around in front of their intercoms pressing the talk button? The #1 rule of the lobby cam is silence. You never said that. I didn't think I had to. So how did it go? Did you figure out what the key is for? Safer has found a key. And he believes that it's going to unlock some incriminating evidence in Mr. X's apartment. He shakes his head. I saw a couple of disturbing things up there, George. Very disturbing. Like what? Safer says he needs a minute. He wants to know if we have any potato chips, which we don't. He settles for string cheese. I get him a glass of water, which he guzzles. Finally, he looks up at me. One word, George. Handsaw. Safer tells me. 1. Mr. X has a handsaw laid out on newspaper on his dining room table, and it looks sharp. 2, he has all sorts of bleach and cleansers under his kitchen sink. 3, his bathtub is very clean. Too clean. And 4, Safer couldn't find anything that could be opened with a little gold key. He needs to go home and think. He takes string cheese for the road and doesn't invite me to come with him. After he goes, I look up kangaroo on Wikipedia and find out that kangaroos don't make a particular sound. Mostly, they just thump with their feet to communicate. I'm kind of